My name is Joseph Wunderlich. I'm a professor of computing, engineering, and architecture. And this is about the philosophy of when or when not, in my opinion, we should use technology. This is a quick audio overview of something I originally presented in Rome in 2011, and then as campus-wide lectures and also cognitive science guest lectures and part of our machine intelligence class. So I'll go very quickly through this, and then it's intended to have class discussion and much more narrative. My background, you can look at some other time. This is how I've color-coded my opinions, good, bad, and no judgment. X-rays, medical imaging, all kinds of medical imaging. I have no opinion of that being not a good thing, other than perhaps radiation. If you have too many CAT scans, you can switch to MRIs or something like that, but in general, no. This is research I did at A.I. DuPont Children's Hospital for children, quadriplegic children, assistive robotics. Mind control prosthetics now, maneuvering for the disability, for the disabled. You can read this, look at this very good video some other time. No old school qualities lost there. What about assisting during rehab? I do have an opinion on that. I've had a number of sports industry injuries, including a full ruptured Achilles tendon. Automation, repetitive tasks. This is my PhD research. Started in looking at factory and industrial control and Chrysler automation plant and some plants my brother was in charge of in a company. Made a simulation, put together primitives for enclosures, and then see what robots fit in there, optimize the robots for different performance, complex tasks. Old qualities lost? Well, yes, you can see videos. If you know your artisans, this is a video I took in Italy, in Venice, Murano, where they make glass on the island off of Venice. Yeah, and many other trades. So in my opinion, yes, artisans, you're losing that with the robots. Cleanup nuclear power plant. That's 3 Mile Island, Fukushima, Chernobyl. Cleaning up human nature, mass nature. This is for fighting Ebola. I haven't heard anything like this yet for Corona, although there's some controversial debate over ultraviolet light, and don't want to get into that, but snowplow, robotic snowplow. So old cool for cleanup, old school qualities lost. Well, perhaps the first responders won't be as many if you have too many robots, and then that could be a problem. Also, you see in the snowplow, if you automate robotics there. Cleanup, though, I don't think anybody argue sending the robots into a nuclear contaminated site. Exploration, there's a whole series of robots developed at E-Town under my supervision, my first decade here from 1999 to about 2011, 12. We have new robots now, but not for international competition. So exploration, we have a number of robots up on Mars now. This is Curiosity, the latest, and Spirit and Opportunity before that. Sophisticated robot. Exploration. This is Boston Dynamics. Little controversial sometimes what they make. Because some of them seem clearly for purely military applications, autonomous, highly dexterous mobile robot, a little scary. But so anyway, but this is for talking about exploration here. So what can you lose with robots? And human-to-human first contact and general diplomacy could diminish. You can get misunderstood by a robot, or you may misunderstand the robot. It can be hard enough with humans who haven't seen each other before. And there's plenty of incidents in history to document that. What about search and rescue on the battlefield? A couple robots doing that. Videos you can look at. Old school qualities lost. This is debatable, so I say maybe not. On the on the battlefield, yeah, you're just trying to save the person, but if you could, it'd maybe be good to have. You're always trying to save the person, but if you're under fire on the battlefield, you don't want to send all your first responders right into the firefight. But in civilian rescue, I would argue it's much better to have a person interpreting the situation there. I would prefer that. Tedious task, delivery robots. Things flying through the air traffic, noise. Old school qualities, maybe home delivery, the person actually bringing something might be delivering it, or the accountability. I see now during this coronavirus, when this is being recorded, 2020, my delivery people are taking pictures of the delivery all the time. I imagine people grabbing boxes or just leaving boxes someplace and running away, where you used to get a signature. More tedious task is customer service. This is a kind of a fail. If you watch this, this is a demonstration of you pick a shoe and it delivers it to you and actually drops it here. What about a laborer? Well, this is I doubt you would build a robot this expensive just for labor tasks. And then you decide if you need this kind of sophistication. This is a Boston Dynamics, DARPA funded robot. Old school qualities lost, human interaction disappearing. Probably nobody watching this, or many younger people wouldn't remember tailors, or perhaps in shoe stores there's still people giving you personal service, but there's something to be said. But they still have this. I bought a couple of suits several years ago, not too long ago, where I had personal service. But a robot sizing, fitting, giving you a personal opinion, how you look, I think not. Customer service. This is getting more and more sophisticated lately, and so you could certainly do this a little bit for not intimate conversation. Your robot. But if you ever had serious problems trying to switch flights, or your flights canceled, or tight connections, or I would much prefer a human as helping me, empathizing in a real way, and then helping solve the problem. So sincerity, sincere hospitality, genuine empathy could disappear. That's my opinion there. I don't see. I mean, the robot can mimic it, but I'm a long way from trusting the robot to really relate to me. Companions. Now, this is another thing, because we can do this even with a stuffed animal. So let's see. Watch the video. This one's a little scary. Asmo, perhaps the most sophisticated. No, well, you decide. Watch some videos, look at some new things for companions. There's someone now that I didn't insert in here, but there's one that has genuine emotional facial expressions and is mobile. That used to be two separate robots. So you decide if you want that. These things can be scary. The first Asimo model was 300 pounds and over 6 feet tall, and it scared people. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. The new one's very submissive, moves slow, short, and small. And so this uncanny valley, we get scared of things. We get frightened by things that scared of things. We are scared of things. We get frightened by things that almost look human, but are not. Old school qualities lost, less human relationships. We start relying on these machines. We see it during the coronavirus here. Luckily, I have my wife and children with me here. There's lots of people all alone. And we drove around, my daughter and I, just yesterday, and we noticed that people are getting a little tribal. They have signs saying, don't come in here to visit in well, retirement communities, understandably, but other places too. People are getting a little antisocial. Major trends in computing, ubiquitous computing, put them everywhere. You want your computer to be a nanny for your baby? I don't think so. Hopefully not. Old school Quays laws, face to face. Oh boy, I'm feeling this firsthand right now during the coronavirus. I miss my students. Zoom is no substitute. You can read papers about that, why that is not true. I mean, it's better than nothing, but read up on that. Drones. Rules of engagement. It used to be if you're in the battlefield and people are killing each other, that we at least spare some people on both sides no matter what. Perhaps some of that honor has been lost over the years. A robot doesn't have this ability. GPS navigation, relying on your GPS to tell you where to go. I don't like this. I mean, I use it now. I finally surrendered to it a little bit because I can't buy physical maps anymore, unfortunately. I like an overhead view and memorize where I'm going, and then I don't get lost anywhere. Unless I do it on purpose. Sometimes I like to get lost on purpose. I don't look at a map just for the sake of immersing in some new world. Christopher Columbus's map. Really no idea where he's going. He thought he was going to India, just sailed off. He had some idea, but people were debating he'd fall off the edge of the earth, and he didn't know he'd run into America and call everybody Indians because he's thinking he's looking for India. Transportation. So that this driverless cars. My opinion on that is. You can see there's been a couple deaths. I certainly don't trust the trucks doing that with all the mass of them moving unless they have separate lanes. I am a proponent of trains. So we see, people get killed by these things. And you could argue, well, more or less people than when humans driving. These are debatable. You can see IEEE spectrum. It's in my opinion, most people's opinion, the most respected organization for technology. So, there's philosophical arguments here. Should a self-driving car kill 2 jaywalkers or 1 law-abiding citizen, right? So if we were doing this in the class, we'd have much more discussion. This is a rapid overview. So you could see these hypothetical situations where the artificial intelligence is deciding life or death things. Are your valued pets more valuable than a car full of criminals that you don't know? Well, that's your opinion, right? Would you kill your own pet or let 5 criminals die? Not hardened criminals necessarily. Flying Ubers. I've talked to pilots about this, and I've yet to find a serious commercial pilot that thinks this is a good idea. Of course, there's other private pilots and other people think it might be. It's a level of risk and an understanding of the limits of technology. So, human drivers' alertness and discretion lost with flying Ubers. So advanced robotics. This is certainly need more classroom time for this, but human mind is to the human appendage as machine learning is to robotics. So when you put it all together, you're essentially creating something like a human if you've got a robot with intelligence walking around. This is topics, and we drill down on other things. These are designed and made 1 neural network chip, designed 2 neural network chips, patent disclosure on the first one, 30-something years ago. And this is the stuff of other publications I have and courses I teach. This is a paper that's often I ask people to read, and this certainly takes quite a bit of discussion in class and opinions. I love to hear different opinions. This is an accumulation of survey data I've taken from students over the past 20 years, colleagues, other professionals in the field, professional psychologists, cyberneticists, machine intelligence people, deep learning people. And so it's a matter of opinions, but based in scientific reasoning in most cases. And so you can see all the mental abilities here. I'm not going to go through all that. You definitely want to stare at this a little bit, have publications go accompany all this. So we just skimmed through a bunch of them real quickly and grouped them together. Some virtual worlds of ran Minecraft servers, ran public and private servers from my home and hosted in New York City and Toronto, Canada, and had students, that's just young children, older people too, and classes of students build things, architecture and digital design. You can take a look on my YouTube channel and see these things going on, these group builds and the interactions. So now I'm just keying on a couple of things here. Number 4, undetected bias. And this is, in the AI. So I show an artificial intelligence program I write in expert system in 1991. And you can see the rules that I incorporate there and the reasoning and how that works mathematically and my personal rules and how I assess confidence in those rules. And then you can trace the rules, how they fire based on the input of the user. And then you see where these decisions are being made essentially. And I make a change and I see what happens. And then I admit to unintentional gender bias here, picking a male toy for a boy and not letting a little girl have that as a choice. And then I had a little girl, 13 years after, 11 years after I wrote that program. And she wants to do boy things too. Good for her. And so she does. Now this disinformation, well, this is since I originally wrote this, did this study almost 20 years ago, started it, and then things have happened. Elections have been allegedly tweaked with, disinformation's out there everywhere. So yeah, just you can use it to trick people. Destabilizing. Kazushi in judo. He was a judo instructor for 11 years, 200 students. The biggest part of that is you set somebody up to fall over. You don't just push them over. If you do it right, it's effortless. And you protect them from falling too. But that's another thing. Destabilizing. It's called Kazushi. Putin, by the way, is a second-degree black belt in judo. Look at the facial expressions there. What's going on in their minds? Disinformation, Facebook, cybersecurity, a little bit involved with this, and the U.S. ambassador introduced me to these people. I hosted a cybersecurity symposium, did some things down at the Pentagon, follow up after that. It's not my field of expertise, but I know a little bit about it, and I know people in it. Then this flying, oogless, driverless death. What could possibly go wrong? I'm being sarcastic there. Sensor fusion, integrating things together, integrating the processes, symbolic and AI mixed together. I mean, that's where we're going now. That's where we're at, actually. And then you can watch this IBM Watson video. It's actually a little old now, but well, this starts with IBM Watson. I'm former IBM researcher. I didn't work on Watson. I was there in the mid '90s. Watson didn't exist, although I did develop some of the hardware that Watson runs on. But anyway, this is details on IBM Watson, and you can look at that, and I'm not going to go over that now. This is an overview lecture and how Watson works. And started playing, this was a game playing application specific use of AI and hardware and software. And then what they learned as they were doing that, IBM learned, and how that particular machine works, and the training, the tuning of it. And you can see based on using previous data from other champions of Jeopardy. And it learns, teaching itself, more confidence in itself, probabilistic guess based on certain things. It has neural networks in there too, and symbolic AI kind of things. And then problems. I read a number of books about this, and then you can look at how I've summarized those. And so, where are we going with this? Take a look at that. More on Watson. More on Watson. More on Watson. And even more on Watson. Still going. So, just come back, take a look at it. This is several lectures to cover this right. And much reading. Again, I forget how many different books I read about this. And I was inside IBM and I've working on machine intelligence for 30 years. This is a very good, I guess it's getting a little dated now, it's 4 years old, but this is a very good demonstration of Watson facilitated through this little robot. And that's one of my avatars in Minecraft from eight years ago.